This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
Why, yes, let us pick up those mics and get on with this thing. And okay, I got a 20, so I go first. Phil, what'd you get?
Damn it, I got a 12. Tell me I go before the dragon at least.
Nope, the dragon got a 13.
Shit. I was gonna make it feel all sorts of woe and then use Dominate Monster on it.
Well, Bob's at home sick, but he's still on the internet. What do you get on the internet roller?
He got a 51.
I didn't ask how old he is.
Bob just typed this back. I'm Old Man Logan, and I have 13 feats that give me plus 31 to my roll. And I rolled a natural 20, so get off my lawn and tell that dragon to get off my lawn.
Well, okay then, Bob. And with that, I'm going to spend a destiny point to steal the initiative for this episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast and introduce myself first by saying, my name is Chris.
And I'm Phil.
And I'm Nikki.
That's right, Nikki's here, because Bob is dying somewhere, coughing a slow tuberculosis-induced death.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, at his advanced age, this was bound to happen.
I mean, I don't see how it's sad. It's party time, right? Pops isn't here.
Yeah, right. I mean, like it's like dad went away on vacation or something. We have the place to ourselves.
Phil has already said a bunch of inappropriate things since Bob isn't here.
I don't understand why.
So is Chris. Don't let him lie
Yes,
to you.
that is true. There may have been some daddies being thrown around. There may have been some yes daddies or be a good girl type things. It's been rather interesting. We won't say who is saying those things, but you can guess for yourselves. Just saying. Just throwing it out there.
So what's going on with you, man?
Oh, good way to segue into that.
Thanks.
You should see the look on your face when I say stuff like that. It's not like I was implying that it was you or anything.
And how are things going?
They're going okay. I'm a little sore today. I'm actually feeling a little bit better after taking that leave, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yesterday I was digging out fence posts of a wooden fence that had concrete on the bottom of them.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much how you put in wooden fence posts.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I remember putting them in.
Yes. I was going to say, because if you don't put them in with concrete, the fence has a,
Yeah, it kind of falls over.
Yeah.
Which it did at one point in time, even with the concrete post that it was attached to, the concrete base that it had in it. But yeah, that was 2.5 hours of my life yesterday. I dug out fence posts because the city of Buffalo put up a fence around our property, like a really nice one. So we didn't need the wooden one that we had anymore.
Yeah, it's nice actually when the city does those things for you. Like,
Yeah,
they're like, hey, I'm going to put this thing up.
Yeah, and in doing so, they gave our yard like another 1,000 square footage.
Oh, that's nice.
But we had to take that fence down because all the stuff growing in between it was getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
So
that's some work, man.
yeah, my project tomorrow will probably be taking away some of those weeds,
Yep.
which are more like trees. That was one of those things. On a more fun thing, like we played some DCC with JJ Lanza.
We did play some DCC with JJ Lanza. It was
and
a
Sean B.
blast.
Kelly with the Wubbers, the Ubbers.
Yeah, Kelly's as funny as I thought he would be, and it's that dry.
Yeah,
like it's Kelly's like super dry delivery.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it's funny.
He was talking about that on Gaming and BS today too. So
Yeah.
it's really cool this mod that we're playing that Lanza put together because it's like it's a riff on Rush 2012.
Yeah.
So it's 2020. Is it?
No, 2112.
2112. Sorry.
2112.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funky, man. It's funky, but I like that. Like, I like my DC. I'm learning because I've now finished the DCC book. I like that game on the weird. Like, I like shit like aliens and astral elves and like crazy weird shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I think both of us really like our fantasy games pretty weird.
Yeah, I think what I don't do well is I don't do traditional high fantasy. I like my stuff like Conan plus some fucking space aliens and some Lovecraft.
So you're
like I need like Lovecraftian space aliens meet Conan, like Carcosa.
So there's this game called The Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers of
Hyperborea, yeah.
Hyperborea.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly what you want to play.
Yes, except that book is like two DCC books.
Yeah, that's true, but it's beautiful. It's a really nice book, actually.
Well, I mean that's good. I mean the DCC book was a barrier of entry for me for that game. Like,
Yeah,
but after I figured out that there really isn't that many rules, there's just like that many spells.
Uh-huh.
Then I took like a deep breath and I was like, I can do this.
And hey, internet, for all you people that think we just like to play story games,
Man.
you're all wrong.
Yeah, man.
Like we like to
Playing
play
a little OSR.
Yeah.
I mean, Oh, the OSR is nice, but I'm so damn old, not as old as Bob, but now that you two are here, I'm the oldest one at the table. I'm so damn old. That's how I played role-playing games.
Does that mean I get to call you Pops now?
Sure, you can call me Pops.
All right, Pops.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anyway, yeah, it was good. Are you about done? Or I'm just going to swing in and start telling you stuff I did. Because I also played DCC with you.
You did play DCC
I did.
with me. Yeah, go ahead.
I was covering for you while you were looking at that note.
Yeah, I have to fix a thing.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, good week. Work was a bit stressful, but good. Like actually, I filled out my project reports this week. I've never used the phrase ahead of schedule so many times in 1 week. I don't even know what to do with that in my career. So it was good, but it's been super stressful keeping everything going. I am working on the gear chapter for Hydra Hackers, which is, I don't know, it seems longer in pages because I got like bulleted lists and stuff. I don't actually think it's that much material. It's really about defining the tags that go with things. So like I've got generic tags, like tags that work for every object. And then like weapons have a certain set of tags, armor, drones, those kinds of things. Like I'm just kind of creating a lexicon of tags.
Okay.
What I haven't done yet is like, and I'll probably do it towards the end of the chapter, is like, I'm going to put some rough guidelines, like how do you know how much something costs? Like, I don't really want the game to be about a lot of money tracking stuff. So like the GM should just assign some tags and look at the examples in the book and kind of, land it somewhere in there. I think that's fair, right? Like I don't have to have like a mathematical formula for that shit, right?
I mean, you could Bladesify it.
I mean, I could say something like, every X number of tags is like 2 watermarks or something like that, or
Not even that, but I mean, when I mean Bladesify it, I mean like it's assumed that you will have some gear to take on your score with you.
I don't know if I want to go that far. The playbooks have a certain amount of gear, and I'm just going to kind of stick with that. All I'm defining is like the bigger gear, like day-to-day stuff isn't actually in the scope of the game. Like I don't care if you need rope, you got rope. Like you can buy rope.
Sure.
But you can't buy a Water Authority railgun. Like you just can't.
Yeah, I mean, unless like there has to be some sort of story reason to get that.
Yeah, and even if you do, it's super bad, right? Like
I mean, having one is probably a bad idea, and they probably have tracking chips on them, and
they will find you.
Yeah, I mean, you have to like disable that, and there's probably a bunch of things that you have to do.
Yeah.
So like that would be actually probably the point of an actual job. Like,
there could be a job to actually get yourself one of those rifles. Although,
disable the tracking on it, and then use that for your next score, which is what you need it for.
Yeah,
like to
you
punch
could
a
do
hole
that.
into a water container. Yeah.
So anyway, that chapter is coming along. It's turning out to be more words than I thought, but I'm also not panicking about words. I'm just going to write what I write. It'll get editing and development will take care of.
Yeah, I mean, me and Sean and Bob will take care of it.
Yeah, so
that's why you have me and Sean and Bob.
Yeah, so I'm actually not sweating that part. But anyway, when the gear chapter's done, I think I'm only going to make 1 or 2 small fixes, and then I need to assemble the actual book. Like not as a final, but I need to decide like the chapters go in certain places, and that was part of the thing I talked about on G Plus, in the G Plus community about settings, like where do settings belong in a book, that kind of thing. Anyway,
can I?
Yeah.
You. I mean, you.
I opened the door.
You correctly covered me.
What's
there
that?
on the whole what's going on thing, because I was stumped because I had to go fix something. Can I go back and talk about some of the stuff that I was
go
doing?
ahead.
Sure, cool. I've begun actively working on the Airy Peaks again, but we found out that the Airy Peaks files that we had that were done to this point are gone.
That's actually kind of freaking me out.
It's freaking me out a little bit too, but I've written a new outline, which is much better than the first one, and I am many words in actually, and many maps in. So
that's good.
Yeah, so that is coming along. I got to write a section called Gygaxian Weird today, so that was fun.
Yes, well, I like that. That's excellent. I like that. I mean, Gygaxian Weird is a thing that I like in dungeons.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. Hey, by the way, can I tell you that our game of Masks on Sunday was pretty kick-ass?
It was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't really do much. I just watched you guys yell at each other.
Yeah. Well, I think Masks for me is turning out to be like.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
and gentlemen, because there was a lady there too.
Yes. And technically, Glenn is playing a female character.
That's also
Yes.
true.
I think the thing that I've come to love about Masks is like do some superhero shit and then yell at each other for like 10 minutes.
Don't forget the whining.
Yeah, whining and yelling at each other. There's like both of that. I had a small temper tantrum in the game. I kicked my mom's car across the lawn into a tree.
Yeah. There's a real way to lose control of your character in that game too.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Once you pick up a few of those conditions, the fast way to get rid of them is to just act out. So, yeah.
But as we saw, like you tried to use your influence on Willow. Solar tried to use his influence on Willow, and it backfired on him.
No, I didn't actually. I didn't try to influence. That was the teacher. I didn't influence Willow. I went to yell at her to blow off steam.
Yeah, but I mean,
I was angry.
Yeah, we called that some sort of influence move for some reason, and then we had you roll the dice, and then it completely backfired, and then you ran off.
Yeah, I just got annoyed. Like I took off. I was like, "Fuck you guys," because
Then
I'm a teenager, right? Like,
then of course Willow then decided to back talk her teacher too.
well, I mean, the delinquent has no choice. Like she like, there's no one.
I'm an emo teenager. What else am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's
Accurate.
Yeah, but it was really good. Like it was a really fun one. We're gonna save Bob. Unbeknownst to Bob started phasing and couldn't stop and phased through the earth. And when he finally stopped, the mole people have him. So we are setting up a rescue effort to go save Bob from the mole people. And I may have borrowed the Elemental 4's tunneling machine.
Yeah, borrowed.
Borrowed, as in I broke into the Museum of Heroes and I carried it out.
It's a good thing that Cyclone likes you.
I know,
group.
because that was, I mean, when they showed up to yell at us and to arrest us, I think my exact words were, "I need a win today."
Yeah.
I had rolled like failures all day. I was like, "I need a win. Just give me the stupid tunneling machine." Like,
You might have gotten one too if I hadn't opened my mouth.
yeah, we were almost there until you started running your mouth again. I'm like, "Get in the damn tunneler!" Like,
it would have got one easily.
They needed to pay for what they've done.
yeah,
Bob's last character died because of them.
Poor Morph.
that is definitely one way to look at what happened to Morph. Not the one I agree with, but yeah.
That happened, yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it was actually a really good session. We actually didn't play super long. Like we went out to dinner, we came back, we played for a while with no break. Nikki made then a delicious chocolate hazelnut milkshakes.
Yep.
That was pretty righteous. And then we played like the last part when we got to we broke out the tunneling machine, and then we were like, yeah, we really shouldn't do any more until Bob's back. Like we just need to stop. So we did.
And then we added Sean Gilgore.
Yeah, we're adding Gilgore to the group, which is even better because I really think that Masks is a game that supports more players than less. I don't like. I can't say I don't like. 3-player Masks for a campaign is harder than 4 and 5 players. Like 4 and 5, there seems to be a nice flow where people can kind of go back and forth with each other relationship wise. Where 3 becomes basically just you're all chasing each other in a circle.
Yeah.
So I actually like it. And I'm super excited to actually go punch some mole people. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we did say how we were going to start that adventure.
All in prison together.
Yeah.
It did not work well for you.
Somehow
something went bad.
Something went bad. We're all going to start in mole person prison and
Yeah.
work our way from there.
Which should be hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Nikki, what about you?
Oh my gosh. So I work for a high school, and the kids come back in September, and it's almost September. So I'm working 50-hour weeks and going a little insane. I spent last week in Boston. That was super exciting. I got to walk the entirety of the Freedom Trail, walked like 14 and a half miles on Sunday.
In flip-flops.
In flip-flops. I don't recommend that. Don't do that. It's just not a good idea. We got to have dinner in the North End, Little Italy, with these cannolis that are like the size of your head. It's ridiculous. It was just a lot of fun. We learned a lot, and I'd never been to Boston before, so it was super cool.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing that you saw in Boston?
My favorite thing that I saw in Boston. It's the first time I think I've ever actually seen street theater. I went
Really?
down to the Quincy Market for lunch that day when I flew in. So I got a lobster roll and I walked out, and there were a couple of acrobats that were doing this comedy acrobat act that was so cool. So I just sat down on the steps of the Quincy Market, had lunch, watched a show. It was really awesome. Thursday night, I actually saw one of the guys who was on season 6 of America's Got Talent performing outside of the Quincy Market. So it's not something I'd seen. I've never really spent a lot of time in super big cities, so that was new and different for me.
Nice. Very nice.
It's awesome.
Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Announcements. One announcement. If you'd like to advertise through Misdirected Mark Productions, we have our ad rate sheet up on the website, and we have advertising slots open. You can see on the sheet which shows you can buy advertising space on, and where you can email to inquire about that. Well, with that, let us move on to the garage.
Access granted.
So, initiative is something that we often take for granted. You roll a die, you put yourself in turn order, wait your turn, take your turn, wait for your turn again, take your turn again. But the reality is there's so much more to that when you get to go than what I just described. Just by changing how you determine when you get to go and how that is determined often changes the very nature of the game that you're playing, which is what I intend for us to show here. But first, as we always do, Phil, hit us with the definition.
Yeah, let's talk about initiative. So, initiative is the power or opportunity to act or take charge before others do. So, in game terms, when you have initiative, it's your turn. I mean, that's pretty simple. It's a concept I think we all know, especially if you've come up through trad games, where, D&D and Pathfinder actually have pretty defined initiative systems. We're all used to roll for initiative.
It's very true.
The mechanism of initiative is there because it provides structure for turn order, so that participants know when they can act. Because that's a thing. That's a thing that obviously arises in games. Who goes first? Who goes next? That kind of thing. So, what's the purpose of initiative?
Well, we need it for a couple of reasons. We need it because we need to figure out who's going when, right? We need some sort of organized structure to the action of what's going on around the table, especially when we need more procedural type things. Because, when we were playing kids, shooting each other dead, you would get in those arguments like, I shot you, you shot me.
No, I shot you first. Yeah, exactly.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the reasons why we need it, and we get it from.
Well, it settles that question.
Yeah.
Right. It settles in that argument as kids. I shot you. No, I shot you first. There's no initiative order, so there's no way to actually determine who actually killed who.
Well, yeah, that's why. I mean, it sets in a structure to play.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it comes from two places. It comes from war games.
Yeah, absolutely. Our historical predecessor.
So what side of a battle goes first? How do you alternate turns? How do you decide how many units get to move before the other person gets to take their turn? Is it the whole army? Is it just a unit here, a unit there?
When does the cavalry go versus when do the cannons go?
Yeah, do we care about that kind of speed factor? Things like that, which I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the other one is board games, because who goes first and what order will play occur? I mean, chess is a thing like that. There's the simple one of I think Monopoly is you roll a d6.
Yeah.
And now there's all the or two.
It's 100
to
house rules for how Monopoly
yeah.
works. I'll be honest. I don't know if I've ever played a clean game of Monopoly. So sure, roll a d6. GM says you're gonna die.
Yeah. Right. So what is next then?
Yeah. So initiative orders. So it orders play, right? That's what initiative does for us. It orders play and makes things, quote, fair. And when I say that, I don't mean the quote so much ironically, but it does. It makes things fair because initiative rules are known and repeatable. They're an established mechanism within the game.
Yeah, they're a procedure within the game.
Yeah.
They're a mechanism that turns into a procedure.
They're not often at the whim of the GM, but I'm going to put an asterisk because there is an initiative model that is at the whim of the GM. And when we get to it, we'll talk about why it's actually not as big of a deal for that particular style. But in most cases, it's not at the whim of the GM to decide. The initiative order dictates who goes when and who goes next.
It often uses a randomizer to determine the order.
Yeah. It brings order to what could be very chaotic. I mean, try to imagine a D&D game where there's no initiative, and it's literally like whoever speaks goes. Right? Like the second you open the door, like everybody's going to be like yelling, like, I throw a fireball, I'm firing my crossbow. You know, like you'll never, you would lose your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why like there's that moment when we play those kind of D20 games where it's like you open the door, there's 5 orcs, roll for initiative.
Yeah.
Right? Like we all stop and do it. Okay. It sets expectations. So it lets us know who goes when. And that's not only like the order, but it lets me know like I'm going fourth. So one of those things it tells me is my expectation is 3 other people are going to do things before I can act. Mm-hmm. And I need to take that into account with what I'm doing.
Yeah. The mechanism of initiative also delineates when a different phase of the game is taking over. Absolutely.
I mean, often initiative is the border between the kind of free play and combat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also gives players time to think. So if I'm like fourth in the initiative order, I have a little breathing room. Or if I just took my action and I know that it's not coming back to me now for like another 6 people, 6 combatants, I have a little breathing room. I can start to think, what's my next move? How do I, what do I want to do? I could look up a spell, that kind of thing. It also slows down people who like to yell things out.
That's true.
So it has this mechanism for regulating alpha players and spotlight hogs. So it kind of puts a damper on them. It also creates a bit of fairness when you have games that have active opposition, where like the GM is controlling monsters. Because if the GM could just decide when to go, right, the dragon goes first and smacks the living crap out of all of you. But if we all roll for initiative and, our, Speedy the elf knocks up like a 21 initiative and gets to go first, that could be a game changer.
Yeah.
And if you're playing something like Savage Worlds, where somebody draws like a king and then gets like, a hit and then explodes like a whole bunch of things, like that's a game changer. That's not even like the whole tone of that combat can change. Yeah. So when I say active opposition, I'm saying like games where GMs are controlling NPCs to thwart the players. So that's where it brings a bit of fairness. Does it seem legit?
Yep, absolutely. That's why I'm not saying anything.
Yeah. So talk to me. How does initiative work?
Well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there is some mechanism that's usually a randomizer that determines when it's someone's turn to act. So that puts people in an order of some sort. There are other ways that works too, but that is the most common one that we're familiar with.
Yeah, and often that randomizer is modified by some character stat.
Yeah, absolutely. So like in 5th edition D&D, all participants in the combat roll D20 and add their dexterity modifier to determine when they're going to act in order.
Yep, absolutely. There's a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, games don't adhere to just one type of initiative. Like people play with this mechanism over time. There are some novel ones that we're going to get into tonight because they're kind of cool.
Yeah, and each of these different versions of initiative create a different play experience at the table. And we're going to talk about those different versions right now. What they're doing, a game or two associated with them, and the play experiences that they create.
Yeah.
So what is the first one?
Yeah, so let's start off with cyclical. And cyclical is you set the initiative, and then you just keep repeating that order of the initiative. Like once it's set, we're just going to keep going through the initiative from the top to the bottom, right back to the top, until we're done.
Yeah, and that's why we call it cyclical, because really you can just set that in a circle. Like
yeah.
the characters, if you put the characters' names down in a circle, then you would just
you just loop. So what's a game that has cyclical initiative?
Fate Core. So you actually look at who has the highest stat for certain conflicts, and then that's the person that goes first, and then every person beyond that with that stat goes next in order.
Just files right in.
Yep. In fact, it's so boring, and I just say boring. This is my opinion, because you don't roll anything. It's actually not a randomizer like we've been talking about. It's just a stat.
Yeah, Fate Core is not one of my favorite initiatives. In fact, the times that we have done Fate design, we often take a look at actually screwing with the initiative order because we're just like, it's kind of dry.
It is kind of dry.
But DCC does something very similar, right? It's roll a d20 and add modifiers, which is often like your agility plus if you're a warrior, your class level.
That's almost D&D in a nutshell, right?
Well, I mean, DCC is almost.
DCC is kind of a
down
stripped
3-5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super stripped down.
Yeah, super stripped down 3-5.
Let's talk about the play experience. What kind of play experience do we get out of cyclical initiative?
So cyclical is good in that it lets players know when they're going to act.
It really does.
We take a few seconds at the beginning of combat, we set the cycle, and then we just leave it.
Another great thing is that it keeps the flow steady. You set it and you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no messing around with it unless you have some weird actions in there where you can delay.
It creates a predictability, which allows you to actually start building strategies and tactics. So, like, if you know that the thief is going to go after you, then you can do something like get into flank. You know, like you can get into position with a monster so that on the thief's turn, they can run up and get the backstab.
Yeah, I always get confused with strategies and tactics. Like that, those terms always confuse me. The predictability part's the important part here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes actions that will allow you to change places in the order, but most of the time these things are fixed. So they're, like I said, the delay thing. Before.
Yeah, delay. What was it? Refocus in 3.0.
Is it a thing?
Yeah,
probably
in
a thing.
3.0, refocus was essentially take 20 on your initiative. Like you had to spend a turn doing it, but then your initiative was 20 plus modifier. So you like shot to the top of the thing.
Nice.
I'm thinking that's right. Somebody tell me Somebody tell me that I'm not imagining that
I can't
mechanism.
remember, so.
I feel like that's a thing. Anyway, tell me another one.
Yeah, the next one is round by round. So what's round by round?
Every round, use a mechanism to determine a new initiative order. This is not one of my favorites, but we'll talk about it in a second.
Sure.
Not a specific game, just this mechanism. All right. So tell me a game that uses round and round.
I'm pretty sure Doctor Who does, because you're going to decide if you're going to talk, run, do, or fight.
Yeah.
Because
there's an order to those.
yeah, it's really super clever that way. And that's why I spotlighted this game for that, because talkers go first, then runners go next, then doers go third, and then people who want to fight go last.
Yeah.
Which is very much emulating the Doctor Who.
I was going to say that's also super genre enforcing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one which is probably pretty famous for round and round is Savage Worlds, where you put the cards each turn, you deal out a card to players, and you go in the order of the cards.
That's right. What is the play experience that this kind of game creates?
So you get the order of initiative, but because it's changing every turn, it's random. So you can't count on like I'm always going to go before the thief. We don't know. Like the next, like I may go before the thief this turn, I may not the next turn.
That's right.
All the bad guys could go first next turn.
That's right.
So yeah, it's going to create order, but you get that kind of random unpredictability.
Yeah, so that there's some tension there with that. Like there's unsurety, so that creates tension.
Yep.
That means your planning, your tactics, and your strategies need to be more nebulous instead of assured until initiative is set.
Yeah, you've really got to like kind of wait till everything hits the table, look and be like, okay, we're gonna do this. Yeah. And the trick to these systems is, I think, my personal opinion, the trick to these systems, they need to be quick. Like
It helps if they are, yeah.
Like one of the things about the thing I like about Savage Worlds is like that initiative is quick because you stand up at the table, you deal out the cards, and then everybody puts their card up, and it's like you just see it.
Yeah.
And you just start counting down.
It's a very visual tool.
Yeah, because otherwise, like take for instance the way you set up a D20 cyclical thing where everybody rolls, and then you're like, okay, starting at 20. Does anyone have above a 20? Who has 19? Who has an 18? Right, and then you like
technically you do the same thing, but in this case, with Savage Worlds, but in this case, instead of it's not, you don't have to write anything down. You don't have to add a modifier.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it's that
It's missing those extra steps. There's one step. Get a card.
The system
go
needs
down.
to be quick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to create that drag in the game, and that's the difference. Like a good round by round system is actually pretty light, and then like it sets up quickly.
Yeah.
Give me another one.
So they're side based.
Yeah, it's side based.
Yeah, both sides use the randomizer to determine when the side of a conflict acts. Then every member of the side acts when it's their turn.
This is how I grew up, son.
I know, right?
Tell me a game.
So there's BX.
Yeah, D&D, man.
Yeah.
The basic expert.
And then there's Tunnels and Trolls is another game that uses this. If I remember, BX is you roll a D6.
Yeah, it's a D6.
Yeah, and whoever's got the higher side goes. I think it's weird though if you tie. I can't remember what happens if you tie.
I don't remember.
Jason Hobbs, write at me and tell me how it works. Thank you, appreciate it. What is the play experience that side-based initiative has? By the way, this when you combine side-based with round by round, it makes it quick.
Yeah, so side-based is a lot more about teamwork because your side goes. It means that what you do on your side, you have control over.
That's true. That's very true.
So you actually can have a lot more tactics because you can say, okay, it's our turn to go. Wizard cast grease spell, fighter, launch the lit arrow at the grease spell, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of control on that. Now the hard part is that you are you are being hit all at once. Like
true.
You get to deal all your damage at once, which if you use good tactics can save you. But then when it's not your turn, the onslaught begins.
Yeah, and because of the way that it's structured, there's the danger that the opposition could go twice in a row.
Yeah, I mean, if you get yes, it can be hard. Like they could have gone last in the turn and first in the next turn, and you're going to take 2 rounds of orc spears.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that kind of initiative does make the game more about group than about individuals and what they can do. It's more like, how can our group interact together as a team?
And I think it's really it's interesting because now that I'm like kind of now that I'm reading a little DCC and listening. I was listening to Spellburn the other day and stuff like that, and getting a little kind of taste of the OSR. That team-based thing's like super. It's super useful because the team-based thing is like how you're going to kind of like use your wits to take down some bigger monsters. Because if you're in a cyclical individual-based initiative and you're scattered over the initiative range with the monsters interspersed, it's harder to do some of those things where you team up. And in BX especially, the things that you say, like the we're gonna run a rope across the room, and we're gonna trip the ogre, and then the thief's gonna backstab him when he lands on his face, kind of thing. Like that's hard to pull off in a individual cyclical.
Yeah.
But in a side based, you can totally do that move.
Yeah, because 5th edition D&D doesn't have the delay action, it just has the ready action. And how the ready action is worded, if you're not going to adjudicate it in a certain way, it makes it real hard to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because the ready action in D&D only lets you take an action, doesn't let you actually take your move.
So that's really interesting, because this is now, I'm going to diverge for a second. This isn't the thing I hadn't really given thought to, is that later editions of D&D stress individuality more than teamwork. For example, how utterly potent would 4E be with side-based initiative?
It would be exceptionally potent, but I mean, this is why I disagree with you, because I think 4th edition stressed the team.
Well, it did
super hard.
Well, it did, but I'm like, it did through powers. But boy, if you had that initiative,
it did through rolls.
It did. It threw rolls and powers, because some of those powers like interlock. Not mechanically, but they complement each other in really interesting ways.
And usually those powers were based on the roles of the characters.
Yes. I mean, absolutely.
Like the defenders could lock things down.
Which the warlord could control spaces. Yep.
I mean, that's why they're called controllers.
Oh God.
Or no, those were leaders. Warlords were leaders. But they could let other people act. Like the wizards or the controllers could control spaces.
Yeah.
The strikers did tons of damage because you needed that, because things had so many hit points in 4th edition.
I'm just saying, like 4E with side-based initiative would have been brutal for the GM.
For everybody. I mean, imagine if the monsters get to go first.
Yeah.
You can all just team up on somebody and knock them out. Because that could happen.
100 conditions laid upon your character.
Yeah, that was... Get your soda pop rings.
Yeah, exactly. All of them. Anyway, I just think it's interesting because BX would stress that kind of a little more narrative description of what you do, and it's more possible to do it when you say, okay, all you guys are going this, like it's now your turn. How are you gonna play out this turn?
Yeah, it's
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay to diverge. That whole old school thing, that old school thing that we're talking about. It's why I love Dungeon World so much.
Well, yeah, and we're going to talk because Dungeon World has a slightly different initiative system, but it's also possible to actually do this.
You were talking about you were talking about a slightly different thing about how the narrative of play can influence things a lot more than just the actions that you can actually.
And
take.
that's a super. So we see that in Dungeon World, but now that you've played some BX, like you totally know, like that's also a BX.
It's also all those old school games.
Yeah.
Like the ones that as soon as you start removing rules and allowing for improvisation and game masters to make rulings, then
Yeah.
you get that kind of play.
Mhm.
I mean, the PBTA games that do that are the ones that I like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's. I mean, in some weird sort of way, I think it's part of one of those things that draws me to PBTA games is that older games had that, and I think I'm just going to say this on the air. I think for many years I didn't have an appreciation of that. Like it was the games I played when I was like 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was doing the Barney Stinson, newer is better.
Yeah, sure.
And just, perpetually moving, away from older games.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of understand, OSR, like what the appeal is to that, because I'm starting to now see where all that kind of came from and kind of why that was fun.
I mean, the more episodes of Hobbs and Friends that I edit,
Yes.
and the more episodes of different old school podcasts that I listen to, and more games of those that I read, I'm like, oh, I see. Because Dungeon World is essentially like they say Dungeon World is an OSR game as if it was telling an OSR story.
Yeah.
They're right. Because I mean, you cannot be super harsh with your Dungeon World game and not kill people. Like people can just die in OSR games because if the dice go the wrong way.
Well, that's because there's no real control of the GM moves.
Correct.
Yep.
Like, right. So, I mean, but it's got that emergent feel, that also flexibility of we're going to do a thing, right? Is that okay? Sure. Make a check.
Yeah.
That's how we play Dungeon World. So,
so here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go on Hobbs and Friends because I'm going to go on as somebody who played old school games as a kid, who like forgot most of it growing like as I got older, and I'm now kind of like slowly starting to rediscover. I think Hobbs should come. Like I think Hobbs and I should have a talk. Like he should school me back up.
you should. Yeah, that'd be great.
Like I think that would be fun.
Except you have to realize that show's only 40 minutes long.
So it's going to be like a multi-part episode.
That's fine. You have to talk to him about that, but
I mean, I'm going to lay on the couch and Hobbs is going to be like, we're going to go back into your childhood and you're going to remember like what was fun about your early days of D&D.
oh man, then we can have Hobbs on the show. We can talk about how old school games and certain story games actually share a lot of the same
The
DNA.
Venn diagrams
Yeah,
are
they're
overlapping.
Yeah, I mean, they're not OSR games because, I mean, depending on what you think OSR is, because there's a huge argument about that in the OSR community. I mean,
Well, that argument's like, what is indie?
I don't get the contentious attitude between people who play OSR games and people who play story games. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I mean, well, again,
because we're essentially playing the same kind of games.
well, and we're polygamerist. Like, I mean, it's a style. Like, there's a style of play when you play an OSR game, and there's a piece of me that's like, oh, again, because I'm a genreist, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, so now I'm looking at like DCC as like, oh, this game is made to emulate an OSR game, like because it is an OSR game.
Well, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, like now I want to do those things. Like I want to play funnels and I want to like randomly kill characters and shit. Not to be mean like my childhood, but more like, oh, because this game is super random and you just can't control that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're letting the emergent qualities of the game have more control than the story of the game, because that's an OSR ideal.
It's also a thing I love about story games is emergent play.
Me too. Yeah. Except a lot of times we prioritize in story games being able to take control of the story.
Correct.
But
in this case, you do not take control of the story.
You just roll with what happens because the game is telling you a lot of times what the story is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going. So Hobbs, if you're listening, I want to come on your show. I want to like get a chair. We're gonna sit down, and I'm gonna reconnect to my OSR roots because I grew up in it, and I kind of lost like not my way, but I kind of lost my memories of it. I want to kind of like relearn.
So at this point in the show,
teach me, Hobbs.
Initiative.
You're the only hope.
In this point in the show's initiative, we would normally take a break and talk to the chat room.
Aha, but we're not, because who stole the initiative?
Wayward Masquerade.
Bam!
We have the Wayward Masquerade Bag Thulu haiku going on right now. So this contest is going to go throughout the month of August. Please send in your haikus. I got a couple more today. These were ones I got. The ones I'm going to read in a second I got a while ago. We really want them. And actually, I don't just want them as emails to me. Put them on the G Plus community. Put them on the Facebook group.
Okay, but now you're sending mixed messages. Your original thing was to send me emails.
I know. I'm changing my mind.
It? Okay, just so that people don't feel confused. You
don't
originally
feel
said one
confused.
thing.
I originally said one thing.
Okay.
Please put them wherever.
Okay. Yep.
As long as I see them, I will take them and I will put them in the document that I am compiling. It was actually a good idea. Bridget from Wayward Masquerade was like, "Would it be better to put them like out on social media?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea.
Uh-huh.
We should do that."
Yep. Do that.
Yeah. If they're related to Bag Thulu, you get bonus points. You also get bonus points for mythos references, nihilism, cosmic horror, personal horror, and humor. Basically, if it's Lovecraftian in any way, shape, or form, you will get bonus points. There's no way that you can fit all that into one haiku, so do the best you can. If you can fit it all into one haiku, I'm going to be really impressed.
I mean, you don't have a lot of words, so
No.
if you sit there and really just like crunch out like one ultimate haiku, we're going to be impressed. Like you will, there are bonus points for trying to cram it all in one.
So there's 3 of them. Would you like to read the first and the third, and I'll read the second?
No.
No?
No, my Cthulian pronunciations are always
all right,
weak.
I got it. All right, here we go. Embrace those beyond. Shub Niggeroth Vatagan. Dice in Bag Thulu. Here's the second one.
Uh-huh.
There's a new player in town. Bag Thulu rollin'. No Dyson Hrilya. Last one. The dice are aligned. Reality rolls reality rolls nat 1. Fluffy dice bag wins.
I was going to say you can't inject extra.
Can't inject extra syllables.
Yeah,
Do it
yeah.
one more time. The dice are aligned. Reality rolls nat 1. Fluffy dice bag wins.
It's good. You actually had voices for them too.
I try.
Yeah, I would have done a bad job. Nice job.
These haiku were brought to you by Wayward Masquerade, which, Phil, can you feel the rumbling? Can you hear the roar? There's a new bag, a new creature, a new plushie for you to adore.
Bring it forth.
It's coming soon, so keep your ears here to hear what Wayward Masquerade is sewing up next.
I can literally hear the machine. Bring forth needle and thread. Bring forth your creature into this reality.
It's coming. It's coming. All right, so what's going on in the chat room?
Besides them trying to make me laugh while you guys are talking.
That's funny.
It's a game right now.
Oh, it's a game right now?
Ange had a comment for us.
Sure,
She
let's hear it.
said the Doctor Who method has some challenges since it requires people to announce what they're going to do first. And very often people later in the initiative will want to change what they're doing based on what people who talked or ran their actions first did and how that changed the scenario.
So what do you do with? I wonder what you do with them in that case. And you should let us know. What happens at that point? I feel like if you've declared and then the situation has changed, you just don't get your action. That's usually how games like that tend to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
I will see if Ange responds. Avi had a question for us.
V.
He says, when do I want more or less certainty in my initiative system? So, for example, you have more certainty in Marvel Heroic. You decide who goes next.
Oh, we're
and
gonna
you
get
have
to that
less
one.
certainty in Savage Worlds.
It's true. I guess it depends on the feel of the game that you're looking for. So let's talk about, if you want more certainty, what kind of game is that?
Games with more certainty have more controlled story. Games that have more uncertainty, and the higher the uncertainty, I feel like the more player defenses you need to have. Like, for instance, Savage Worlds can do really well with a very uncertain initiative system because
it's
you
funny
have
that you
bennies
said that because the thing that you just said doesn't, like the old like BX and stuff don't have player protections.
Right, but BX is side based. So if your side comes up, everybody acts. That's a big advantage. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. But for instance, in Savage Worlds, that super fast random ordering is okay because you don't need to set up a lot of big tactics in Savage Worlds. One, the game doesn't support big tactics. It supports punch things in the face. And two, you have a lot of player protection in the form of bennies.
It's true.
So you can get caught in, like on the low end of the initiative, punched, roll, soak, and you're back up and running.
Yep.
So I think in a nutshell, games that have more random initiative are just going to be more chaotic. It's going to be unpredictable. And if you don't have player protections, weird shit's going to happen to you. Whereas games that have very deliberate, controlled initiatives are achieving a certain usually a certain story type thing. Like in Marvel, which we're going to talk about in a second, you are specifically picking for the right dramatic moments. Like the Hulk punches Doctor Doom, not because he's going first in the initiative order, because it is the right time to punch Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's how, like in Marvel, that's how you should be using that initiative, right? Like you should be doing things like thinking like a comic book panel. Like you don't have Hulk run up at the beginning of the panel and punch Doctor Doom. You have like a whole bunch of people attack, and then finally like the shadow of Hulk looms over Doctor Doom, and then boom.
Yeah, because getting taken out in that game isn't really getting killed or anything like that, unless you want to go with the comic book death thing.
Yeah, but I mean, even a comic book death is like, you know,
It's not really death.
quote death,
Right? Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the mechanic for that game is you are taken out.
Yeah.
And that is defined by the person that takes you out.
Exactly.
So
And even if you die in a comic book, you don't die in a comic book,
I'm just thinking about the Star Wars FFG initiative system.
which we're going to talk about as well in a few minutes.
Because it kind of goes along with that. Like, that kind of initiative, it gives you some randomness and some control over the story. A little bit. I mean, because you never know who's going to go when in those slots, because it's a slot-based thing. So it's interesting in that manner, and that experience then creates some combination of that story thing that you're talking about plus tactics. Because then you're thinking like, who's going to go next? Who's going to go in this slot? Where are we going to put people?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's I mean, there's an importance to that. I mean, there's an importance when you can control the flow of initiative. The making the decision who goes when is actually that's a mechanical and story based decision.
Yeah, it could be a tactical based one too, right?
It absolutely can,
Because that's often how certain war games work. Like, which one of your units is going to go next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's side. Like, usually a lot of them these days are side. Like, you take a turn with 1 or 2 units, and I take a turn with 1 or 2 units.
Yeah.
And that's a very tactical thing. Like, and then you can't have that unit move again until all the rest of your units have gone.
Right.
So who goes first? Who's going to take the front line? Who's going to move where? Like on the position on the battlefield. So initiative mechanics often have a lot to do with the kind of mechanics that you want to use. Have a lot to do with the kind of game that you're designing.
Yeah, I think initiative definitely informs the style that you're playing.
I guess when I said that poorly. The other mechanics that surround initiative inform what the initiative mechanic is doing for your game a lot of times.
Yeah, but I think your initiative mechanic also shapes your combat.
Oh, of course it does. It shapes not just your combat if you're using initiative for other things.
Yeah, but specifically since initiative is often tied to combat, initiative has a very big effect on what combat's going to look like.
I mean, I'm only saying that because of the Star Trek game. It is you go, I go, you go, I go until everyone on one side is gone. Then if there's people left on the other side, then everyone goes.
Yeah.
Then you start over.
Yeah.
So that is a very different kind of play experience, because that game often doesn't always have to do with combat because it's Star Trek, right?
Correct.
I mean, I think I just ran it right on Sunday for the Don't Split the Podcast Network, and somebody fired a phaser once and somebody punched somebody once, but that was really just the firing of a phaser was to knock out a barrier of some sort, and
Sure.
then the punching of somebody was just there was a person that was by themselves and they needed to knock them out so they would be out of the way.
Yeah.
And that was it. But when we had conflicts like that, it was back forth. So I mean that creates a very story based experience in that game. But in other games, that would create a very different kind of feel. So it's hard to answer the question. If I was going to generalize it, I would say that if your initiative is more randomized, it will create more chaos, and it'll be more of a. Those kinds of initiative systems, in my opinion, are probably more for tactical games where you don't want that certainty. Like and usually you set it right away.
Well, think about it. One of the cool things when you play Savage Worlds is when those cards get dealt, like everybody holds their breath for a second to see what they got.
Yeah.
Right. And then like somebody gets the king. I'm purposely avoiding Joker because Joker has some other mechanical effects, but somebody gets the king and they're like, yes, and then the other person gets a 2 and they're like, or when the GM gets a 2, right? Like the GM deals their initiative and like the big bad gets a 2 and everybody at the table's like, yes, pile on the bad guy.
Here, go check it out. If you have a fairly random initiative system, it goes well if you have a tactical game where you know kind of what everybody can do. Because if everybody is pretty assured at doing the thing that they want to do, which in Savage Worlds you often are pretty assured at doing what you want to do, because you know what your good dice skills are. Same thing with D20.
You
right?
also have a mechanic for re-rolling.
Yeah, you have a mechanic for re-rolling.
Yep.
So that creates a lot more uncertainty in your fight. Which
Yeah.
is, that's a very heavy based game. Like there's a battle mat, there's minis, you can move so far. You often know how far you can move unless you're going to dash, then you roll an extra whatever it is. In story games, more story-based games, it's okay to let it be more structured. Like once it's set, it's good to go.
Yeah, well, because a lot of times, I mean,
Even that's not true. I mean,
one of the things about story games that is sometimes unsaid at the table is that we are all working to make an interesting story.
It's true.
So there's this kind of conceit that says, like, okay, we're all working to make a good story, so you're going to go now, and next it's perfect time for Nikki to go. Like, because that's how, like, the story leads us there.
yeah. The question's just a weird one. Like, you can almost make any initiative system work with any kind of play. It's just like, what is it? Like, the reason that Powered by the Apocalypse games go with the you go next, you go next, you go next thing.
We got to get through some of the other ones.
I know, but like
You got-
this is the question part, right?
Uh-huh.
Like somebody asked us a question. We could have
We
saved it
also
for the end.
have a question section at the end. We could defer our action and finish it up after we talk about some of the other systems.
All right, fine.
Ange did answer your question. for
Sure,
her.
go ahead. What was
she
it?
said that she usually lets people change their actions as long as they don't overshadow the people who announced they were acting within the genre by trying to talk a situation down first.
I wonder what the rules actually say.
And Rob pointed out that 7C second edition had kind of a take on action changing after declaring. It works on kind of a feng shui shot clock like system.
Yeah, it does.
Where you change your action shots, which I guess are kind of like action points. I've never actually gotten to play the game. so
when you take an
I gotta-
action, well, it's going to be later.
Yeah, that's
It's never mind.
We got more initiatives to go.
Well, then we shouldn't have answered the question or tried to.
That's why I'm trying to get you to defer your action and finish
Fine,
it
we're
later.
going to defer it, and we'll talk about it later, Avi, because I keep talking about the things that we're about to talk about.
Uh-huh.
Tell me about popcorn.
Popcorn or choice mechanism.
By the way, here, real quick story about Popcorn Initiative.
Yeah.
Do you know why it's called Popcorn Initiative?
because no.
Because frickin' Lenny Balsera decided that's what it should be called.
Oh, there we go. Well, if Lenny names it, again, that's perfectly fine. And considering the serious overlap between Fate and Marvel Heroic. Anyway, popcorn is or choice. It's the character who acts gets to choose the next character to act. And this lasts until everybody has acted.
Yeah, so we mentioned Marvel Heroic Role-Playing about 100 times at this point. So the play experience that it creates is it creates a metagame. There's a strategic element that exists in picking when the opposition is going to act, so that you can keep the opposition from going all at once and then going all at once again when the round resets. Because the way that it works is, if I pick you, and there's still like two bad guys left, and we're on the same team,
Yep.
and the bad guys haven't gone yet at all, or we don't have any people left on our side, you have to pick a bad guy, and then they're going to pick a bad guy, and then they can just pick all their bad guys in a row the next time if they want, which will then leave us to all go ourselves after that, but that is a thing that can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I think this is an interesting mechanic. I think it works fine for Marvel Heroic, which is, a game that's emulating comic books. So I think that works because you have the option to turn around and have like the entire Fantastic Four pile on to the bad guys, or you can go, panel by panel. It's a different portion of the fight. Sue Richards is throwing invisible, bolts at one person, and Mr. Fantastic's got somebody else tied up, that kind of thing. The wizard now tries to attack, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fine. It's different. I don't play too many games that have popcorn initiative.
I actually love Popcorn Initiative. I actually use it in like Fate often.
Yeah, I think it's fine in I think it works fine in Fate. Okay. So yeah, its flexibility comes in the fact that you get to kind of choose where the spotlight goes. You get to decide who's going to go next. And it definitely favors that dramatic and story-centric kind of thing where sometimes you're going to make that. So sometimes you're going to make that initiative choice based on tactics and mechanics of the game. Sometimes you're going to make that choice based on story. Like, it's better for Thor to go next.
I guess, but often that has to have some sort of that is okay. This is I'm not going to really disagree with what you said because that is a valid thing to do. But just from a pure mechanics point of view,
Yeah.
Unless there's something that encourages you to do that, there's no reason to do that. Right?
Yeah, but the story could encourage it.
Yeah, but then why bother? This is one of those times when I'm like, why bother having that kind of initiative then? If you want a story-based initiative system, then just use narrative, which we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because the reason to have the popcorn initiative, in my opinion, I guess, is that it does what you said. In one ways, it like lets the spotlight move around to whoever they think should be next. It makes sure that everybody gets a chance to act.
sure.
Because it makes sure every person that's at the table or that's involved in the conflict gets a moment to have the spotlight on them. I don't know if it's specifically good. I mean, because there are times that I've used it that the last two people, like, oh yeah, we have to include them in some way, shape, or form. So it actually doesn't assist the story all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I think popcorn works for a game like Marvel Heroic over some PBTA games, and there's reasons why a narrative, which we're about to talk about, works very well for PBTA.
Yeah, well, that comic books thing, right? Like, because we can go from one panel to the next being somewhere else,
Yeah.
or on the page turn, we're in a different part of the book.
Yeah.
like that makes that happens. Like,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, you've read enough comic books. You're like, oh, flip the page. Well, that's especially in the fight books that have multiple fights going on. Flip a page. There's another
Well,
fight.
you know, when you're looking at like an Avengers comic or an X-Men comic, when you've got 6 combatants against 6, 6 villains, you see it in a couple different ways, right? Like, so sometimes you see like a lot of play back and forth, right? Like you're cutting back and forth through the fight. But then, like, a lot of times, especially like with an Avengers comic or something, there's a rally where you've beaten down the other side enough that if this turn we all go first, we can take them out.
Yeah.
So instead of popcorning and picking the GM's characters, instead we're all all the way down to Wasp are all going.
Yeah. And then if you're a clever GM and there's like one bad guy left and they're going to lose, you just surrender.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or if they completely blow all the rolls, then you have your
Well, then you
rally
escape.
back.
Yeah. Yeah, if they blow the rolls, then,
You mean you then turn around and have your rally back
Yeah,
and your people
exactly.
pound the Avengers into the ground.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Which has totally happened in comics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about narrative initiative.
So this is where the GM gets to make the choice of who goes next, often by saying, Phil, what do you do? Or Nikki, what do you do? Or there's some triggering phrase where they hand off the narrative until they decide to take it back and pass it to someone else. And this is pretty much every Powered by the Apocalypse game we've ever looked at.
Yep. There's a real art form in doing this. There's a thing where because it is narrative and because you're picking, GM's got to actually pay attention to what's going on. Don't accidentally lose anyone at the table. But it is very much driven then by narrative. Like, it's okay if if I go to Nikki, like from you to Nikki, and then on the next turn, I go like Bob to Nikki back to you. Just because that seems to be where the interesting.
Well, that's where the story.
That's where the story's traveling through.
Yeah, I mean, there's been moments when we've been playing Dungeon Roll where I hit the same person 2 or 3 moves in a row.
Yeah.
Because it just made sense to stay there.
Exactly. So it's just a thing where the GM's got to keep track of this. And really, the real pitfall is don't lose anyone.
That's, yeah.
When new GMs who pick up who do narrative for the first time, this is the thing you have to remember: don't lose anyone.
Because if you are comfortable with that randomizer keeping the order for things, it takes you a little while to get used to it, right? Like, it didn't actually take me long to get used to. It was more of a natural fit for me, but that's just because of how my head works. Like,
well, yeah, and I think in a second you're going to mention one of the reasons why I am comfortable with narrative in PBTA games.
Because in most cases the GM doesn't have to take turns for the player or for their NPCs. They
Yeah.
just wait.
Well, because so in D&D, a narrative style, like if we were playing 5e,
Yeah.
a narrative style initiative can be really can be really harrowing, because the GM has to have their characters go. So if the GM just decides their characters go, or at any point decides when their characters go, without a initiative mechanic, like, players are always going to be like, oh, you jerk, like, Cecil, our cleric, was down to 3 hit points, and then you decided to have the ogre go and smash him into the ground. You're a dick. But in Dungeon World, GMs don't actually have a role in initiative. their monsters act through the player's moves.
Or their players in action.
Yeah. Or in action, right? And then like there's very specific rules about that. But like that was the thing when I first learned to play Dungeon World that I really had to shake was that I just say like the goblins rush at you to attack. I don't actually say the goblins attack you. I have to wait for you to make a move. And then based on your move, I can determine whether a goblin actually hit you or not.
It's true.
So for me, narrative in PBTA games is kind of, it's not a big deal because the GM's never pushing their pieces into the battlefield. Their pieces are a direct result of what the players do.
Yeah, it's also why narrative description is so important in PBTA games, especially like I'm super comfortable with Dungeon World. I'm getting much more comfortable with Masks at this point because what you say the bad guys are doing will then let the player characters decide how to act.
Yeah.
And then you know what to go off of. So that's why it's not good to say that the goblins attack you. It's better to say the goblins are rushing at you with spears to impale you.
Exactly.
In a rush.
Right. And what are you doing with that?
What are you doing about that?
Yeah. I'm gonna get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's defy danger.
And really the question is like, how do you get out of the way? Because you're in this cavern where it's kind of a wide space, but there's really nowhere to go except away and back through the tunnel that you just came in.
Yeah. I'm gonna go my thief acrobat. Right. I'm gonna pole vault up onto a ledge.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Now it's defy danger acrobatics.
Exactly. Defy danger decks. Yeah.
Defy danger decks. Thank you.
But the important part of that is that there's no place in the narrative system in PBTA games where the GM goes unless the players all lock up. If the players, I mean, that's the rule. If the players look up at the GM with no idea what to do,
Make a move.
which is why it's in your best interest as players in PBTA to never
doing
stop
stuff.
talking.
Keep doing
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, I love narrative initiative, and I'm actually wickedly comfortable with it for games like that.
I am very comfortable with it. I've even tried using it in player facing, I guess, in other games too.
I'm a little more wary in. So, all right. So this is the thing I was trying to get at before, and you may agree or disagree. In a game like Dungeons and Dragons, where I, as the GM, have control of NPCs, popcorn would be my preferred mechanic over narrative
Yeah, popcorn works.
because that way it's a back and forth.
I've used it before for D&D 5th edition.
Yeah.
It works.
But narrative would make me less comfortable because I would have to decide when I want my monsters to go. And I could totally be biased.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the thing. Like if I'm controlling monsters, give me an initiative order. If I'm reacting to what the players do, narrative is fantastic. Okay, tell me about the shot clock.
So shot clocks, rounds are divided into segments or shots, and each action type takes a certain amount of segments to use them. So a character gets to act when their segment frees up. Examples of this game are Feng Shui and Aces and Eights. So what is the play experience that this game creates?
Whew. Okay.
I mean, I actually am very fascinated by this kind of play.
So first of all, so the play experience is you've really got to be conscious of what your action is.
Yeah, I mean, the game is often in the shot clock.
Yeah, so you really got to think, like, when I take this action, how much time will tick up before I can act again? And how effective is it? So there becomes this economy of, if this thing takes 5 units, did I do enough damage to be out of the initiative for 5 units?
Yeah.
There's another game that actually uses this, Hackmaster.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hackmaster Basic actually uses this, which is terrifying for
a number of reasons.
Yeah, for a number of reasons.
You mean Chartmaster? You mean get your arm cut off, Master?
Yeah, well, I mean, Hackmaster Basic used it, and it was terrifying because something like a pole arm is like, it does a ton of damage, or actually a battle axe does a ton of damage, but you like lurch forward on the shot clock, whereas a dagger doesn't do much, but you can attack a guy like 3 times with a dagger if you can dodge that axe blow. Like, that's the thing where you start to like.
Yeah, can I throw the thing out there that I'm going to say in a second anyway?
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason that the thing about the shot clock that's cool, especially if it's designed well for the rest of the game, is it creates that risk versus reward situation. Like, and you were starting to say it, you just didn't come out and say risk versus reward, which because you were probably going to wait for me to say it. But yeah, it's like you said, is it worth it to hit somebody with that battle axe for 2d10 points of damage, or should I take 4 turns where I can get 4 attacks with my dagger, which only do 1d4?
So I played years ago at Gen Con. I played an Aces and Eights game. There was a shootout in the street, and I saw a guy level a double barrel shotgun, shoot, and didn't kill his opponent, right? Because he was like, Aces and Eights got a whole other thing where you place like a template over the body and roll and see where the shot goes.
Yeah.
Didn't kill his opponent. That opponent had a Bowie knife and just gutted. Like ran up and just stabbed the guy twice and finished him off.
Now, I will say that I think that's pretty terrible design.
Well, the idea was that firing the double barrel shotgun does a ton of damage, but it costs you because you fire it, and it takes like the time and to reload and all that other stuff. Where the knife is in your hand, and so the guy spent so many points to move up. The guy was still reloading. Then the guy closed to close. The guy was still reloading, and then the guy stabbed him to death. Like that. Like that's the thing. Like slower weapons pay a penalty. They are often more damage. But if you miss, it puts you at a much higher risk.
I mean, if he was that close with a Bowie knife...
I didn't say it was a good tactic. Like, he should have dropped the shotgun and, drew a knife and stabbed the guy as well.
Well, I mean, he still would have been down at that initiative level, though, because of...
Yeah, he would have. I mean, that's the problem.
I mean, if there was... See, this is what I get about designing these things. Like, it's hard to design this stuff to make that risk versus reward economy effective and make the game feel correct. Because if he's like, I'm reloading my gun, if he would have shot the gun and said, I'm going to drop my gun and pull out a knife, then he shouldn't really. The time that it was taken, the shots that were taken weren't shooting the gun. The shots that are actually taken is reloading the gun.
Well, and that was his initial plan. But what happened was, because you have to declare these things like in advance.
Yeah.
So like he shot the gun on one turn, and then the guy came back around, and he's like, "What do you do?" He's like, "I'm going to reload." Then he moves you. He's like, "Okay." Then you move up, here on the shot clock, and then he's like, "Dude, what about you?" And that guy's like, "I run at him." Okay, and he moves him like a little bit of the distance the guy went. Okay, what do you do next? Like I draw my knife, moves it a little more. What do you do now? I'm stab him, right? And by that point, the guy's like, and I mean. You can see it, like he's fumbling to try to get the shells into the shotgun when, the guy runs up and puts a knife in his chest. And that's not completely inaccurate, but it really hammers home, like, you really got to think, like, when you take a big action, it puts you far out on the clock. Mm-hmm. You really got to wonder what's going to, like, are you in a position, are you safe?
Yeah, I mean, that guy made a mistake.
Yeah, like if you were on the awning of the saloon
and shooting down
and shot that guy and then took 2 turns to or whatever, like 10 units or whatever to reload your gun, yeah, you're good. But he stood out in the middle of the street, and I mean his hope was that he would get it reloaded before the guy could close distance.
And he didn't understand the game.
Yeah, the guy closed. Well, we were all playing as an intro game.
Yeah, sure.
It's a murder scene, but anyway, I think shot clock's interesting. I think shot clocks can be slow though. I mean, I can't say slow. There's a back and forth. Like every action, you have to like move your thing. It's like scoring. And
that's why I don't ever think that you should design your shot clock into games that have tactical minis.
Yeah, I mean, I think shot clock for me feels like it's like scoring in Ticket to Ride, right? Like I got to keep moving my piece around the board. Like when do I go next? Like 10 more.
It's why I think Feng Shui is so interesting, because the game is in the shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is no minis. You play Theater of the Mind.
Yeah.
So the game is there, and I think that makes the game a game instead of just. I mean, that's where like I said, that's where the game really is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, you can do a lot of cool stuff. The thing that you have to worry about in shot clock is light, quick actions versus heavy, big actions.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw it in Hackmaster Basic. You saw the same thing. Like getting hit with a battle axe was a pretty awful thing to happen to you. Not getting hit by the battle axe gave you some time to do some, to get in there and really work over the barbarian.
Yeah, it makes it tricky, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, shot clock games make me want to play light, fast characters. Like I don't like playing tanks.
Because you don't get to go as often, so you don't feel like you're engaged as much.
I'm nervous that I'm sticking out there for too long.
Huh.
I would rather take like a bunch of little actions, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, than to just, plunk out there, fire my BFG, and then like hope to God I make it.
I just think that our reasoning for that is completely different because
Yeah.
yours is I would rather have more chances to do a thing to accomplish my goals. Where mine is like I just don't like not acting for that long.
Right. I mean, here's the funny thing. In shot clock games, I want to play like a light, fast character. But in every other kind of initiative system, I always play like some sort of tank, like,
I mean, because the light fast character gets to go more often in those games. They don't do as much damage, but they get to just do stuff.
Well, and sometimes doing a lot of little damage can be, like it adds like a point.
I mean,
hit
it
point,
can add up,
Hit
yeah.
point here, hit point there. Pretty soon you've done some real damage.
That's why I always like those are hard to design, right? Like your big hits need to actually hit a lot more in a lot of ways than 3 little hits.
Yeah, your big hits need to be scary as hell, man. Like,
for example, if you're going to design a shot clock game, your 3 little actions that can do like damage, like 1 point of damage, 1 point of 1 point of damage, 1 point of damage, 1 point of damage. They need to not like the big action that costs the same amount as that needs to actually be able to do 6 points of damage because it's bigger risk, bigger reward.
yes, that I think that is in a shot clock game. I think that's the piece you're balancing. Is you are balancing the I'm going to stick myself out here, but because of it, I did this big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm fast and light, and I'm not doing very much, but maybe I'm moving around. Like I can just stay out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much our tour of, and that's not all the types of initiative systems ever. Please don't email us and yell at us that we missed one. I mean,
there's
there
other
are
ones that we didn't talk about.
so many, but we wanted to pick a bunch of common ones that were prevalent to us. All right, so let's talk about now that we've done that. What's like the strategy? Like, what's the influence and stuff like about this? Like, what's the deal?
So when you go matters, those who can go first tend to trigger special abilities. So like feats like improved initiative have importance. The edge is quick, no less than 5 on a card, or level-headed, draw 2 cards and take the best. Those are important.
Level-headed is like one of the most kick-ass edges in Savage Worlds.
I mean, I think you could take quick and level-headed.
You can actually, which means you draw 2 cards and no less than 5 on both cards. Yeah,
And like we talked about with the shot clock, like bigger actions might only be able to taken later in a round. Like spells in older editions of games took longer to cast, especially the higher level they were.
Oh, can I make a quick mention, a little side note?
Sure.
So, Hydra Hackers is a PBTA game, so obviously has narrative-based initiative. But the one playbook that is an actual fighter, the Neighborhood Watch, has a move that basically states that you always go first in any kind of heated exchange. Like if something's going to turn into a fight, you go first. If you want, like that's always your option.
Okay.
Like that's just, it's like a little narrative like thing. Like, oh, like you're the actual trained fighter. So, if a bunch of like street thugs are about to throw down and you just want to punch the leader right in the face and take control of the situation,
makes perfect sense.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
tell me. So we just talked about when you go matters. So what do you do on your turn? How does that matter?
Yeah, well, what you do on your turn is going to matter, right? So, like in a shot clock game, I mean, we just had 5 minutes discussion.
Yeah.
What you choose for that has a big deal. If you are going in a cyclical individual initiative, so changing your initiative in that order can have some effects. So, like a delay action, when you go because you were delaying for a contingency, you move up to that initiative. That makes a difference in the game. And tactically, sometimes you want to do that.
It's true.
Like, sometimes you want to push yourself to the top of the initiative. So taking a delay action, sort of waiting for the ogre to move, like, you can do that just to get yourself a higher initiative. And that's what I think refocus again. Refocus was a thing. I swear that was a thing. I'm going to look it up later. But I swear that was an actual rule. Anyway, if you can mess with the initiative order, that's a thing.
Yeah, because then, like, if you're playing games where you can't do that, it takes away some of that tactical play, right? But if you're the cleric and you're going before the fighter, but your fighter is fighting, like you said, the ogre, and you really want to go after the fighter to see if he needs to be healed after the ogre wallops him, then you can delay, and that's useful. Or you can ready to say if the fighter drops below X amount of hit points, you can heal them. Like that changes how you play the game, like having those options to messing with initiative. the other thing you can do is you can mix styles that we talked about, or styles that we haven't even mentioned. So, like we talked about the Star Wars FFG game earlier. It is cyclical and popcorn at the same time, and also slot. Yeah, it's cyclical and popcorn at the same time. So you will set your initiative with a roll, but those aren't setting your initiative for like the characters. That's setting your initiative for the slots for your side. So like you will go first, third, fourth, and sixth, and you get to pick who goes in that first slot, that third slot, that fourth slot, and that sixth slot as play progresses until everyone has gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad guys the same way. They get to slot themselves until everyone has gone, and then we start back over from the top, which is, I think, really cool. I really like, if I'm going to use Popcorn Initiative, that's actually my favorite version of Popcorn Initiative to use, because it's got that, there is a set to it, so you can see sort of what's coming, and you can kind of guess at it, but then there's also slotting it in there so you can modify if you need to, as things happen.
By the way, I just looked it up. Refocus was a 3.0 rule.
Yeah, I don't think it exists in 3.5.
That got rid of. So here's the actual rule. In 3.0, refocus was a full round action that your character took no other action, just refocused, but reset their initiative to 20 plus their modifier.
So they would often go at the top of the next initiative run.
I mean, often, yeah, you could get pretty close to the top unless somebody really, spiked a roll.
Like a 50.
Yeah, but so that was the idea. Like you basically forfeited your action on one turn and shot yourself up to the top.
Did it not have delay in that version of the game?
They had ready. I don't think they had. They might have had ready, delay, and refocus. But
Because you don't need
refocus, yeah,
you don't need refocus if you got delay, man.
Well, no, because delay was, if I remember the 3.0 rules, you could delay, and then if you didn't take your action in that turn, like it fell apart. Like you had to take it before the end of the turn, or you just fell back to your initiative order.
I thought if you delayed, it went right back around to you.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like 3.0 was a while ago, but I did look it up, and there was it did go away in 3.5 because there's like a whole mess of questions like where did refocus go? So
let's talk about how to leverage initiative in play. So as a player,
yep.
You should really understand how your initiative system works and what it's trying to accomplish so you can play within that system and use it to help you control your character and the group's story and fate.
Yeah, so if it's cyclical, know when it's your turn and where everyone else's turn is, so that you can actually work together.
It helps.
I mean, you're going to be in a kind of a fixed order, but, look carefully. It's like that example at the beginning. Like, if you go before the thief, like, do the thief a favor, man. Like, line up targets for the thief to come backstab.
Mm-hmm. Like if you're using side-based initiative, be game for trying things, and remember this kind of initiative encourages teamwork.
Absolutely. Like, if you're gonna do
game to do things with your team.
Yes, if you're gonna do side, like huddle up. I mean, this is why there was originally a caller.
Yeah.
In those games was because you would huddle up, and the caller would then just kind of announce what you did.
Also, because there could be like 12 players at the table.
Yeah, those were the days, man.
We're all walking in a dungeon getting murdered by traps.
So much of that.
Oh man.
All right, so as a GM, same thing as the players, but work to create the best possible flow. Like when you have these initiatives where you've got some influence on it, do that. Like work for like the best flow, the best kind of story.
Yeah, and if it's narrative based, go with what feels right, even if you're going to the same person 2 or 3 times in a row. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, as long as you make sure that everyone's going to get some spotlight time, go where the story goes. If it's popcorn, choose and pick your spots for the bad guys to go all right in a row. And then, if you do that, just know like the player's going to turn around and do the exact same thing back to you.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's a great way, like, again.
So it's cool because you can manipulate it, right? Like you can go from this sort of like interspersed thing to them flipping a 2-side-based initiative, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and then break it back up. I mean, it's sometimes, like when the bad guys ambush. Like you see this all the time in the comics. When the bad guys ambush, they all go in a row, right? And they just they all smack the heroes, and then like the heroes get up, and they then you can split back into that back and forth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to play for the story, it's a great way to handle it. It's just unfortunate from the player side that there's usually not a reward to creating a better story for the players. I mean, for the game master, it's kind of your job in a lot of ways, your mandate to create the best possible story flow. And you would hope that it's the same thing on the players, but there's no benefit to it, right? And with a game like Marvel Heroic Role Playing, there should actually be a benefit for the game master for doing that too, because they have a Doom pool.
Yeah.
Like there should be some sort of thing about that. Like if like 3 people have gone in a row
And your guys haven't.
and your guys haven't, if 3 people have gone in a row and you haven't kicked it back to them, like you get a plot point. Everybody who
Yeah.
hasn't gone yet should get up, like, or you should increase the die in the doom pool or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, because that creates that whole idea of
Like, hey, like bad shit's gonna happen because you keep hogging the spotlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
There's gonna be some retribution coming.
yeah, like that would be cool, but that doesn't exist. So cyclical means you can make some educated guesses at at what is probably coming. Misdirected mark, word scramble. There you go, Bob. So you can push the game in directions you want to see it go as the game master.
There are some problems. Initiative systems can also cause problems in a game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of them?
Disjointed moments. They happen a lot. Sometimes you have to work really hard to make your initiative system that doesn't flow in a correct story way, I guess. Like, in what you feel is the next beat of the story. A lot, like you get those moments sometimes when everybody's like, really, did that just happen? Because that doesn't feel like what should have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a thing that, that's a thing about story versus randomization. And that's probably a misdirected mark topic we could have.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely talk about.
We could
story
definitely
versus
talk about
random.
story
Hey,
versus.
could you pin that, Nikki? Thanks.
Sure, of course.
You
Don't forget to say cha-ching.
You're supposed to say ding now.
Yeah, ding.
Ding.
Thank
Thanks.
you. What's another problem that they cause?
If initiative systems can cause latency if they're like complex, and if you got a lot of modifiers, or sometimes even just the act of kind of establishing the order can create that latency in a game. Like you can just slow things down.
Yeah. And then I guess the last one is some of these can create analysis paralysis. Side-based and popcorn initiative can really cause this because you're like trying to figure out who should go next and what are the tactics of our team.
Yeah. Hacks and wish lists. What do you want to do?
I don't have any.
You didn't. I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of initiative systems out there, and there's so many widgets to add on or take off of them. So, I mean, you can pretty much, if you've read enough games, you can cobble together a whole bunch of cool things for your initiative
I think
systems.
so.
I mean, I often use popcorn or choice initiative for Fate.
I think actually popcorn or choice is great for Fate.
Yeah, I really like the D&D 5e initiative because of some of the mechanisms that go along with it. It works really well. I'd like to see a shot clock initiative system for Fate based on the action types.
Oof.
Like, create an advantage, an attack.
Oh, interesting. Okay, on the that,
Like,
like not specific actions, but those actions.
Correct. Like, attack would cost like 2, create an advantage would cost like 1 or something like that, or 2.
Interesting.
That would be fascinating to me.
I'd be interested to see that play. I don't know if I actually would like it, but I would totally want to see it out of a mechanical curiosity. I did have a couple of things I thought about. So I think that, especially for like cyclical initiative, like we're in the age where apps should just do this shit.
They do. Roll20 does it.
Yeah, I know. Like Roll20 does it, but I got to play Roll20. Like I want, like I'm sure there's an app for my phone or my iPad.
There is.
Which like I could put all this shit in and just be like, hit a button and be like, bam, here's the initiative order. Let's go.
It wouldn't be that hard to do.
No,
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure I think there's many apps. I just haven't checked. By the way, if you are a listener, if you're in the chat room, tell me right now if you have one of these apps. If you're a listener and you use one of these apps, put it in our G Plus community or something. I totally want to know about it. Because one of those things that drives me crazy with cyclical initiative, like D&D initiative, is that like 2 minutes of, okay, does anyone have a 20 or higher? Yeah, okay. Anyone got a 17? Who's Nikki? What'd you get? A 16? Okay, Chris, what do you got? Like a 12? A 4?
See, I just have table tents now, and I don't write that
Yeah,
stuff
but then
down.
you've even got to like sit. You still have to ask that whole question, right? Like, what would be fast is like I have all your bonuses in an app, and I have all the monsters in the app, and I'm just like, I click a button, and I'm like, Chris, go. Nikki, go. Like I could even announce it. Like I could even just say like, okay, it's gonna be Chris, Nikki, Goblin, Bob, Tony. Dragon. Okay, ready? Let's go. Chris.
Assuming it's easy to put the monsters in the app, then yeah.
Yes, I mean, well, that's it. Like, how much work do I got to do to load this shit in? Like, that's the balancing act. But I could totally be down for something like that. I feel like that exists, and I just haven't looked for it because I haven't played games with initiative in a while. But as I'm getting ready to run DCC, I'm like, is that a thing? Is there a thing where I don't have to worry about that? Because that would be great.
So the way that I would want that for my app is like if it was an iPad or something like that, I would load everybody else's stuff in there, and then I would be able to put that number of D whatever modifiers in there for my monsters, hit the roll button, and not the modifier, just the die type,
Yep.
because I can see what the modifiers are, and then if I could just drag and shift them around based on the order, at least like it'll roll it, it'll order like everything, but then I can just move those d20s for the monsters where I need
Yeah.
them to be, and then I'm good. Like that's simple
That's-
enough.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I can do that quick math myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of in for that. And I'm betting somebody's already done this for me.
Probably.
There are a lot of games that have hacks for keeping track of initiative. Like I have one of those magnetic boards where you write the name of each player.
Strangely enough, those are actually terrible these days,
They're-
comparatively
well,
speaking.
They're kind of slow.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got to sit there and move all those things around. The table tent thing's fine. You put it up on your,
Dude, the
GM
table
screen.
tent thing is the best thing that was ever invented for tracking initiative.
Yeah, but even then, you still have to kind of make sure that you have table tents, enough table tents to put all your monsters in for other encounters.
Uh-huh.
Like you just have to have a little pile of table tents.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing.
I have that's I only say this because I've been using them for 6 years. They're the
No,
best.
I know.
Yeah.
I've played games with you that have initiative where you've where you go for that. And like I feel like that's a thing I would have to do too.
It's my favorite way to track initiative when playing with people around a table.
I'm gonna actually check out the app thing. Like I'm gonna do some research because if I could find an app that even if I had to just load the monsters in before the adventure and I could just do it off my phone or something.
You know what the problem with the app is?
What's that?
Compared to the table tents? Here's the reason why the table tents are so good.
Because everyone can see it.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is the only reason to me why they're better than the app.
Or I'm just gonna go to side based.
I mean, side based isn't bad either.
I just be super lazy and just be like, we're playing DCC side based initiative.
Yeah, it seems legit to me.
And it actually undermines the fighter. The fighter has some bonuses for seizing initiative, and you're taking it away from them. And since there aren't an abundance of powers, fighter should probably undermining it probably isn't the best thing.
All right, so that's our talk about initiative.
Yeah,
Good job.
yeah, nicely done.
It was a weird one because Phil didn't write these ones, I did, and then he edited them.
Yeah, I thought we did okay though.
Yeah, I mean, I can always just tell when we are not as in sync as we normally are.
We also wrote this one weeks ago.
It's true. I haven't read it in a while.
Yeah, I actually went through and skimmed it this afternoon before the show, but we wrote this actually weeks ago, and then we wound up having Rob Ball on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Aloy on, which as a behind the scenes, we don't actually like to do 2 interviews.
Yeah.
But Aloy's was perfect timing.
Yeah, in fact, in the future, we were only ever going to do one of those a month, if at all.
Yeah,
if people want to be on the show, you have to catch us, and we have to be interested.
Yeah. So it's okay. I mean, we're not an interview show. We like to interview game designers when we think something's interesting, but we're not an interview show.
And I'm not opposed to taking your money if you want to come hang out with us. And
Well,
talk.
that's different. There's a lounge. Like we'll do a whole separate episode.
I mean, I won't. I'm not. I don't usually ask for money for lounges because I mean, if you want to come and pimp your thing on on the show, and
No, that's like the exact opposite. If you want to come on the Misdirected Mark, that one should be free. If you want an extra show shoved in our rotation, that should be a charge.
yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I would do that.
I feel
way.
weird about doing journalism that way.
Well, I mean, I think you just be upfront about it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean,
I
there's
know that's
nothing
how
wrong.
Atomic Array used to do it.
Oh, there's nothing. No, Atomic Array never said that they got paid.
Yeah, but they did.
Well, they totally did because I paid them a couple of times, but they never said it on the show.
Yeah.
Like, I actually would have respected them. I mean, not that I didn't respect them. I actually think Ed Healy and Ron,
Barton.
they actually did a fantastic
Their show was
job.
great.
They did a very nice job, but that was a paid gig. Like as a game designer, you paid $150 to get on that show.
Yeah, but they read your book. They did the research.
Oh, they did the work. I mean,
Actually, if you want to know where the lounge comes from, it's basically a direct descendant from their show. Because
Yeah.
I used to listen to the questions they used to ask. And I'm
Yep.
like, I need to do my research so I can ask the questions that they're asking.
they were excellent.
And if people are wondering why I don't do as many of those lounge episodes as I used to, it's because it takes work.
Yeah, we've really drifted from the chat room for life thing. Nick, is the chat room asking us any questions?
Mike actually had something really interesting. He said that he makes everyone roll initiative prior to the start of the session, like 5 different initiatives. So he just has them to roll. If
Oh,
No, that's a
Yeah,
good
that's
trick.
a good one.
I've heard that one. That's a great one.
Yeah, get that out of the way.
And Senda would be interested to hear about tying advantages to narrative control, or advantages/narrative control to initiative, a la the Fantasy Flight games, like Star Wars.
Were there advantages in narrative control of the fantasy?
Oh, she's talking about like when you roll the dice and you get like those extra.
Oh, all it does is so you look for successes, and then I think advantages is what is the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it does for initiative?
Yeah.
Okay, so
you look for successes first, then advantages are the things that break the ties.
Ah, okay.
And then after that, it's whoever has the highest score in the thing that you're rolling, because it's different depending on what's going on.
So that's the hierarchy.
Yeah, it's
that's
the
actually
hierarchy.
something we didn't talk about in there. Is that there are such things as ties. There are tiebreakers, and sometimes there's simultaneous actions.
There is. I think that's what actually happens in BX when you tie
Simultaneous, yeah, because you can all murder each other.
at the same time. Yeah.
I have some. I think I have some memories of being murdered and murdering at the same time.
It's been a while since I've only
Uh-huh.
played like 3 sessions of BX, and it's been a while since I played. And I can't remember if we held it. We roll side base, we declare actions, and we execute actions.
I like that you played like in this decade. Like I haven't played BX since like I was like in middle school.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, I'm going on Hobbs and Friends.
Send
He doesn't
it-
know yet.
Senda says that it is the tiebreaker, but you also get to use the advantages to narrate parts of the scene before the initiative starts.
Oh, so you get to.
And Jerry says that advantages do more in initiative. You spend advantages to add to the narrative environment.
Oh, that's cool. I don't.
So-
I guess I didn't know that. I haven't played a whole ton of that game. I'm surprised that you didn't jump in on that because you actually played more of that game than I have.
Yeah.
They're not playing that game that way.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's after show material right there. Can't wait.
Dude.
Anything else in the chat room?
She says you get narrative control with your advantages to set up the combat as part of your initiative roll.
Do you get to create like stuff in the scene then with the
I think
advantages?
you do. I think you get to be
if
like
you
there's
have
a
X amount of,
beehive.
if there's X amount of advantages, you can like make a thing with a thing. That'd be pretty cool. Like I've literally played 2 sessions of Star Wars: The Fantasy Flight game and Rum 1.
Jerry's response was yes, you can roll crappy successes, but lots of advantages and create a great encounter.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I
That's
do like that system.
although
for
I don't
that.
know how that blends with the fact when there's pre-published adventures that like you're in a robot factory and these things are already
Yeah, but I
existing.
think you then. I mean, I think contextually you added in there. Like
Yeah,
first
so
of
the game
all,
master's like, no, it doesn't really work.
so first of all, the advantage you always spend is that there is a door control panel.
of course, right?
Right, because by rule of Star Wars, I can shoot the door control panel, and whatever thing I need it to do is what happens when I shoot it. I shoot it to open it. I shoot it to close it. That totally works. That is a
As
Star
long as
Wars. That is a Star Wars rule.
I'm thinking if that is actually if it's already open
Blaster plus intent. Blaster plus intent is how doors open
or close
or close. Yeah. Change the state of a door by blaster plus intent. Somebody's look 3 triumphs. Look a free AT-AT.
no.
No.
That would be my answer to you.
Right.
No.
No.
Yeah, you got that triumph, but no.
No.
You got 3 triumphs. There's no free AT-AT for you.
AT-AT with a ladder sticking down. The keys are on the ground. Just pick it up and go. Anyway.
Anything else in the chat room?
I think you guys are good.
I mean, at some point in time, I will learn the Star Wars role-playing game, and then we'll talk about it, like, in more depth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Since apparently you don't know it at all. even though I
Well,
can
you know
turn
what?
it and ask
Instead
you.
of learning the Star Wars game, I'm going to learn the new generic game.
I mean, that would be a better thing to do.
Genesis.
Genesis.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Or not Genesis, it's called Genesis.
Genesis, yes.
Yeah, GENSYS.
Yes.
I've finally gotten my copy of the book when I bought it from Jerry at Origins, and I've been traveling and working since then. And learning games like that is not always the best when you play with certain groups.
Yeah, I figured as much.
They're, I mean,
Little fast and loose?
Loose with rules. Fast and loose is great, but that doesn't actually give you a feel for the game that
No.
it's meant to
True.
be played.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, I still have fun, but we're playing a game sort of like Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's drop out of initiative.
And go into the social media depository.
Yes! Oh, I totally did that one. Oh, nailed it.
All right, let's talk about a couple of current Kickstarters. So this one's called Legacy: Life Among the Ruins, and I just hit Nikki's mic again. It's just like sitting in that space that I'm not used to having it. This is by James Isles. or
Yes.
Ills. This actually came my way because he was interested in chatting with us, but I mean his Kickstarter is going on right now from Robert Ball. Robert Ball suggested us to him.
Yeah.
So, what is Legacy: Life Among the Stars? So, it is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. It tells the story of families of survivors rebuilding their world after a reality-twisting apocalypse. He wrote this game after he got tired of the nihilism of the post-apocalyptic stories that were just grim people competing to be the most inhuman to each other. He wanted to tell stories of rebuilding, adaptation to a new world, and community. The goal of his game was to match the broad scale of games like Birthright and Pendragon with vibrant post-apocalyptic palette of like Gamma World or Fallout. This game has a wider scale than most Powered by the Apocalypse games. Each player controls a family as well as a character, and you collaboratively build your world map and change it over time. A lot of playtesters have likened it to the Quiet Year. So after a few sessions focusing on a pivotal span of time, you can advance the clock years or generations and work out how everything has changed. Then you build new characters to deal with the new age's problems and keep playing through your family's saga. I asked James what made it different from other PBTA games. If you couldn't catch it, one of the big things is it has a lot of legacy to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this sense of scale. You can spend the better part of a session playing through a party of explorers scavenging in a flooded city, then zoom out to work through how the different factions they serve use the things they find to wage war, conduct diplomacy, or build something that changes the face of the wasteland forever. Similarly, your game could cover a long span of time with your group skipping forward years, decades, or even generations to the next pivotal moment in history. And then all of this is guided by rules and procedures that help the group fill in any necessary details and prompt the imagination. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, the second is legacy, because there's a lot of evolution and adaptation in this game. So this game's got all the apocalypse type feels to it too. Like there's mutants and inhuman life forms and weird things all over the place, and it's just got all that stuff in it. This game is well funded already.
Yeah, and if you want to get a taste for this, check it out. It was on +1 Forward.
Oh, cool.
So you can actually hear
And he nominated +1 Forward.
And he nominated +1 Forward. You can actually hear. I'm trying to remember what Rich's character's name was. I mean, obviously it's a play on Plussy, on +1, but yeah, he goes on a very interesting scavenging run
Nice.
that goes bad.
The next one was, I just wanted to mention, there's a new Reaper Bones Kickstarter going on. Oh boy,
more plastic in the world.
Yep. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
The carbon footprint in the world just went up by a factor.
Yeah, not only did it go up by a factor, but like that thing is super well funded already. Like the asking price.
Is there a Tarrasque? Is there going to be a
don't know.
Tarrasque? Because there's often some crazy ass. I mean, there's been Cthulhu in the past.
I think it started today, right? So
Yeah.
it was, the asking goal for it was 30 grand.
How fast did
It's like, I have no idea, but it was like 2.7 seconds, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I mean, well, first of all, listen, Reaper's delivered, man. Like, this isn't their first dance. Like, they can deliver this, and people love it.
It's true. It's very true.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's talk about some just community chatter.
Yeah, man.
First things first, RPG a day. Day 1 was today.
Hey, so this is a thing, people. I don't know why we never thought to do this in the past. I think we kept trying to do it on the show where we would do like 4 or 5 questions in a row.
Yeah.
But instead, we're going to do the questions every day in the community.
Uh-huh.
So that we can all talk about it together as one big happy family.
Yeah, and then maybe I'll recap some of them every week.
Yeah, and which we did. We talked about games that we wanted to be playing.
Mm-hmm. What was
your
published
pick?
RPG do you wish you were playing right now?
Yeah,
That
what was
the
your
question.
pick?
I'm not playing Dungeon World at all.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you said you were missing Dungeon World.
I mean, I haven't played Dungeon World in a while.
I will
missed
always
that
play
game.
Dungeon World with you.
I know. We'll get there.
Mine was Tales from the Loop.
Tales from the Loop. That
Oh
would be
my
a good
gosh,
one.
I forgot that.
That-
I'm so jealous of the Knights of the Night playing that right now.
Yeah.
Oh, are they playing Tales from the Loop?
They were. I don't know if it's.
Did it start coming out yet?
I don't know if it started coming out, but
I'll have to go listen to it.
they're definitely recording it, and I might go visit for a session soon.
That's pretty sweet.
I mean,
That'd be
can we all
awesome.
can the three of us just agree? Because I don't think we'll get any resistance from everyone else. Can we just, when we're done with masks, can we go right into Tales from the Loop?
yeah, sure.
There's so many games.
We can
I know,
play Tales from the
but
Loop.
is there any reason not to go into Tales from the Loop?
My
No.
picks are Undying and Headspace.
I could also play both of those. I don't have a problem with either. I could run Headspace. I can. I could run either one of those as well. Like, it depends on comfort level. But Tales, I also want to play Tales from the Loop.
I'm
really
totally
bad.
down with Tales from the Loop. After the game at Origins.
Yeah,
that
right?
was
That game was so
much
good.
fun.
So good. Your phone's blown up over there, buddy.
I thought it was. I think I'm all right. I just
Okay.
want-
Does it work? Did work come down hard on you?
I don't know. I'm not gonna look.
There's a bunch of people that wanted to play first edition AD&D. Brett and Mark Blackman are in there.
Yep. There's a lot of people who said Blades.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying Blades.
I think people should play Blades. Get ready. You're gonna do some work. I mean, there's a learning curve to that game.
There's a learning curve to that game.
The other one I put in there, which I don't actually want to play a full campaign of, I just want to play like a 4 or 5 game arc, is Mashed.
Yeah. There you
Like,
go.
I just want to play, like, I really want to just play it like more than one session because I think that game has some longer play feel.
It'll be nice when you decide to play that because I can take a couple months off.
No, I'll play like 4 or 5 sessions, like it's just a month or two. I actually will go
4
play.
or 5 sessions with us is 2 months.
Yeah, but I'll go play it outside of this group.
I mean, you can play it with...
Well, I could play it with everyone else. I'll just play it on a different night, not with you.
Okay.
I know when you play other games. Like, for instance, on every other Wednesday when I'm not running Hydro Hackers, I could run that game.
Yeah, that's when I'm playing
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Exactly.
I love Star Trek. That game is great, by the
No,
way.
that's when you're recording an AP.
Oh, is that when I'm...
Yeah.
Oh, so that's when I'm playing with the Wednesday evening
Yeah,
podcast
exactly.
All-Stars.
Yeah. In the future, I will run some off-book games and stuff like that.
But can I say you folks are awesome? We had 25 comments on this one.
I'm hoping that this is what it's going to be like for the next month.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'll put up the next one. And I've been actually going to bed earlier, so I get up actually at a reasonable hour.
I will be waiting.
All right, so you'll see day 2 tomorrow, and then day 3 after that.
So a lot of fun. Please come join us, and also put in your feedback.
So Eli Kurtz, he threw up this interesting topic. RPGs designed specifically for streaming, which was fascinating to me. And he said there's been a lot of talk around a few groups recently about which RPGs are appropriate for different game fields. A lot of them have been nested within discussions about D&D's popularity. Regardless of your personal opinion, you've got to admit that D&D has the lion's shares in the market, which is true. So even though 5th edition was designed on the premise that people would gather together in a physical location and play it around a table, it can be used quite effectively for online games, but that's not why it was designed. So this came up in the Modifier podcast, apparently. I haven't heard it yet. An interviewee predicted that there will be soon new RPGs that are geared specifically towards online live-streamed games. So what mechanics best facilitate online play? And what does an RPG need to offer to be ideal for playing on Hangouts, Twitch, Roll20, etc.? So this isn't a question about the technology, but what should be the mechanics that go along with those kind of games. So Roll20 is really great. I mean, this is a platform, right? But it plays the minis games really well. So if you're going to stream a game that requires that kind of stuff, like...
Well, I think that's fine if you're playing a Roll20 inspired role-playing game. But I think what because Eli further talks about this in the thread, if we're going to genericize it to Hangout, Skype, whatever platform.
I think the important thing to note is whether you're going to use a virtual tabletop or not.
Yes.
Because once you've decided that for your stream, then there are different kinds of games that you want to have as part of your play experience.
Yep.
So I think, honestly, that narrative choice of initiative, like you go, is super important for stream games online.
Yeah, I actually said rigid. My comment was rigid turn order.
So it's funny because you said rigid. I don't think I need rigid, but I need the game to be specific about when you say what do you do, it's person, what do you do?
Yeah, I think what I meant by rigid turn order was that you can't have multiple people talking on a stream because you can't hear what's going on.
Correct.
So you need to actually have mechanics that control. In this case, maybe not because procedures are mechanics. We actually did a whole episode on that. So you need procedures that tamp that down. Because you need to kind of crush it. The other one that I suggested was the idea of multimedia, meaning that, for instance,
I saw what you said.
Yeah, like let's say we're playing Headspace, and we're playing video. The Headspace
is the chat. Because it's streaming, so people are actually watching it.
Yeah, and people can just sit there on people's turns and just be like chatting. Like, is he really doing this? Like, get out of the room. No, use my skill. And that stuff is like what your Headspace would be like, as people are kind of,
Yep, and then in the stream you would have one box that is for the Headspace. You would call it the Headspace.
Yeah.
It'd be cool as hell. That's a really clever way to do it.
Yeah, actually kind of want to try playing Headspace online.
I'm a terrible typist.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard for me. People who are terrible typists would have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I actually am not. So, which is, I find it ironic you write so much and you're not actually a good typist. Do you need Mavis Beacon?
What's that?
Mavis Beacon Typing Tutor?
Probably.
It's an old program. It teaches you to type, and you drive a car. Like, the faster you type, the faster the car goes.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually tried a bunch of programs to teach me typing. I'm just not any good at it.
Can I tell you how I learned how to type? So I was in high school, and they had my senior year. They had freshmen come back from college to our school, and somebody asked, "What was the most important class you took?" I was a junior. They asked, "What's the most important class you took?" And one of them was like, typing, because I have to type all these term papers, and if I didn't know how to type, it would be really hard to write these like 20 page term papers, every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that sounds important. I'll go take typing. So I did. I actually took typing in a classroom full of actual IBM Selectric typewriters.
Nice.
These monstrous metal, like 75-pound typewriters.
Do you know that they called that class keyboarding later because it was
yeah,
all on keyboards?
because they did keyboards,
Yeah.
right? No, this thing was like actual typing, and like sat in a room and did like, you know, a like that's how you learn to type. But I actually took it, so I actually learned how to like two-hand no look type by the time I left high school.
Yeah, I'm sort of better at touch typing now than I used to be. I'm still not great at it, but
I learned from Mario Teaches Typing, and I don't actually type the correct way. So people will walk by my desk, and I can type about 70 words a minute, but I only really use these 6 fingers. It drives people insane.
Yeah, I probably couldn't watch that. Like, I'm actually like, that class, like, you have to imagine this. Here's this classroom, and it's like literally like hands on the keyboard, wrists off, like 5 fingers on, like look away, start typing. And I was okay until email and chat came around. And then all of a sudden I went from being an okay typist, like, to much faster. There's a little history lesson for you kids. I'm gonna go look up the IBM Selectric.
so that would be interesting, I guess. So
I would love to see. I mean, there
that Headspace
was
thing.
there was years ago, there was an RPG that was specifically made for text-based chat.
Oh, interesting.
And I forget the name of it, but I have it in my storage box. It was a little game that I bought at Gen Con like 10 years ago.
There was a game specifically made for playing on Google Hangouts or like with Skype or something like that.
Yes.
It's called Screen Scream or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's that horror one where the
Yeah.
screens go out or
Yeah.
whatever.
So I mean, like, there are games that are being designed that are specifically for online platforms at this point.
Right.
Somebody mentioned Broadsword. That's the HeroQuest clone. That's specifically for Roll20, which is interesting because it's a HeroQuest clone. It got my attention.
Yeah, well, of course it did. You loved that.
I love that game. What other mechanisms work for online games, really?
Well, if we look at some of the things that Eli said, like one of the things that they were saying is a real possibility is audience participation.
Yeah, I mean, that becomes a thing then.
Because that's the Twitch model where a group is playing and spectators are watching and have some sort of mechanism to push into the game.
Yeah, that's when I feel like you need another person at that point to help make those calls for the audience.
Do you know what would be fantastic game for that? X-Crawl.
Oh, yeah, because the audience can then, like...
X-Crawl and Worldwide Wrestling.
Because the audience can do things.
Because it would
then,
actually be, are you entertained? Like, if you're entertained, like, start pushing this button.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That would be really good. Also, you could also have them like if somebody's on the sideline helping run the stream, they can put forth the questions like this way or that way, things like that.
What if you had one where every participant who comes on, right, you log in, you get like 50 gold. Okay, and you do like a Hunger Games kind of thing.
You could just
could spend it, and you could spend it individually for a small bonus.
I don't see how James D'Amato with Dungeon Dome doesn't do that.
Right, and you could spend you could combine it. Like let's say we really liked a hero, and the 3 of us pool it in to get like a scroll of like cure serious wounds.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Ding ding.
Yeah.
Ding,
Rob
ding.
had an idea for it. He said,
Yeah, this is super clever.
imagine, let's say 3 players in a hangout playing Headspace. The way you were describing it, Phil, with the dialogue in the chat. Then imagine you have like other people, the audience in there, 2 or 3 more players, not in the video call, but on the chat only, and being like the ghosts.
The ghosts.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We should totally do
We
that.
should try that. Rob, we should try that. You've been playing games with me online. We can totally do that.
Can
Yeah.
we do that after the other Friday night came-ins?
We could. We could absolutely give that a go. Get some players, play some Headspace on Friday night.
Headspace Online. Be interesting.
We could even stream it. Anything else there we want to talk about?
Yeah, there was talk about low and no dice rolls. Here's the thing: I've played with remote players, and I even when I play the Hydro Hack playtest, I don't care if people roll dice.
Now it's about streaming though, so it's about being entertaining to the audience in a lot of ways. Because that's the whole point of streaming, is that not playing games online; it's playing games for the stream.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't need the dice roller built into the game. I will trust everyone I'm playing with to roll their dice and just say what they got.
Yeah, at that point, then they need to make sure that they state it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, when I say, what did you get?
I mean, the Wednesday evening podcast all stars sometimes have a problem with that, including me. Like, I don't always say what I just rolled.
See, I guess it's different. Like when I run Hydra Hackers, you have to say what you got because you have to like finish the move.
It's true,
right? So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, and I also have to know if you got a 6-,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I need to know if I need to take an action.
Well, actually, it might be better then to not roll with the automatic dice roller, because we roll with the automatic dice roller and roll 20, and we all see what happened.
Yeah.
So no one's saying what they got, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some people who are like, no, if I play online, I have to use the automatic dice roller because I have to see what. Like, I don't trust people to roll their
Oh, yeah.
dice.
I don't have a problem
Yeah,
with that.
I don't have a problem with
I just that thing with the audience needs to know what happened,
Right.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
the point of because we're talking about streaming.
Yeah, if you're streaming, yeah, then you got to say it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not one of those things. Like, I trust my players. Like, if I'm playing with you, even if I went to Gauntlet and picked it up, like, whatever, I trust people are just going to roll
Yeah,
their
I
shit.
mean, I
Like,
do too. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, well, that's our community chatter. That was fun.
A lot of fun.
Those are good
and
conversations.
and Eli, that was a really awesome topic to bring to the community. Thank
Really
you.
was.
Like,
Thank
that
you.
was a lot of fun.
All right, let's do some Patreon shoutouts and get out of here because we are pretty late,
We are
actually.
pretty late.
All right, so Kevin Lovecraft, Michael Dinos, who I've been playing Over the Edge, and Nikki also, and Rob Eberzato, we've been playing that game. It's been pretty fun. I've been having a pretty good time. Ben Wilson, our international correspondent. You're not, because you're drinking coffee.
Thank you.
Toby Sennett, another one of our across the pond people. Brandon Barnes.
Who's one of my playtesters for Hydra Hackers.
Jesse Edmond, that's Doc Palindrome. Miko Froelich, Eric Simon, who we'll see at the QCC in not too long.
That's awesome.
Sean Kelly, I'm not sure if it's the P or the other one.
You know what? On Pandas, we have a rule about this.
Yeah.
We give a shout out to both.
Oh, so both. Thank
Yeah.
you, Gaming and
This
BS,
way
and
we
thank you,
don't-
Sean, the
Yeah.
other Sean Kelly.
We don't discriminate.
And the Randy Farmer, the old school DM, who I didn't see the video that he posted in the community, which I heard was pretty cool.
I didn't get to watch it. I saw it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But thank you, Randy, for doing that, and for also making all the cool papercraft and sharing it with us that you make.
Seriously.
All right. Is there anything left in the chat room for life that we need to talk about?
Besides pointing out that I've failed you guys and forgot to say that we were going long.
Well, you
I
just
know.
did. You just said it though, so you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, say it like Bob, though.
I had to check that off.
We
Gotta
should
say it like
you gotta
Bob.
say it though.
Oh, come on, I hate you guys.
We're going long.
We're going
long.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for listening.
If you are free Tuesday evenings, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, you're welcome. Come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with other listeners in our ever awesome chat room for life, and come ask us questions.
If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week wherever you get your podcasts. And take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Threats from Gallifrey, Advantage to Insight, Pandas Talking Games, Cypher Speak with Darcy and Troy, The Gnome Cast, The Streets of Avalon with the Wednesday Evening Podcast All-Stars, which we're almost done with that story, and that means Avanti is next. And Hobbs and Friends of the OSR.
where I'm going to be on soon.
Yeah. You can and should also check out some of our brother and sister podcasts, She's a Super Geek, The Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
Then, after you've taken your turn, leave us some feedback. You can reach us directly via email, chris@misdirectedmark.com.
That's me.
Phil at misdirectedmark.com.
He's over there.
Substitute Bob at misdirectedmark.com.
Send him all your peanut butter and jelly porn.
Yeah, he's not feeling good,
Please.
by all means.
It makes him feel better.
Peanut butter and jelly hentai, please.
Yes, please.
Check out our Facebook group. Hit us up on Twitter at misdirectedmark, at DNA Phil. Again, subbing in at Robert M. Everson, and also
At IT Gamer Girl.
Oh, that's right. Look at
Because
that.
I now have a Twitter account.
You do
because
have a
we
Twitter
made her go
account.
get one.
That's right.
And at the Light 101.
Where
And
I talk about all sorts of things these days.
And then finally, refocus your social media by coming to our G Plus community.
Very nice. Real quick before we get out of here. No, I'll save it for the after show. If you want to know what I'm about to talk about concerning hentai porn,
Hey.
come to the after show.
Keep the end of the show going here.
If you like what we do here and on other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, I am plugging the after show, okay? You can and should support our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMP, where you can get access to said after show. Don't
Ta-da.
worry, I was getting there. The pre-production show notes, musical parodies when Senda has time to make them, and if I ever decide to make another one. The Pandas Talking Games bonus outtakes, bi-weekly D&D offerings, hopefully, when I can get to them, and other special releases. And with that, this has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. I'm going to delay for a second. Mic drop.
I'm going to do it Garnet style. We out!